I'll show this on the screen in a second. But before I even play it, I want to know a little bit about yourself. I see by the image
Yes.
that it's a dude on his hands on a DJ mixer.
Yes.
Looks like a nightclub kind of thing. And I'm curious, are you creating music already? Are you releasing music? Are you...
Yes, yes. I have YouTube channels.
You have a YouTube channel. And you're creating music on
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Nice. Well, now I know to check that out and to let everybody else know to check that out. Are you playing? Are you a DJ?
No, I'm producer also, a bass producer.
Okay, cool. So with this song specifically, I guess I'll take a listen to it and then I'll ask you some questions about it before I really give my thoughts on it. I'll let you explain what it is. Anybody else that's in the room as well? What's up, Vinny? What's up, La Nouvelle? You might have to help me with your name.
Maya.
Laya.
Yeah, hi.
That's a lot easier. Thanks, Laya. What's good, Vinny? Vinny, you have a really cool room.
Thanks. My studio.
Oh, that's nice. So, yeah. Everybody, my name is Josh Bess. We're here with Thomas as well from 343 Labs. I am a music creator, a producer. I create I create a whole bunch of styles of music. I use Ableton Live to create my music. I could give you a bit more about myself in a bit, about afterwards, but letting you all know that I do teach courses at 343 Labs as well. I teach the Ableton Live and music production courses. I do beginner and the intermediate levels as well. So anything that we're listening to today, I could really go across both ends with it, just discussing, like giving feedback from, I guess, from an emotional perspective of how you would want things to sound or how you would want others to perceive the way it sounds. Or we could jump into the technicality of it. We could jump into like the mixing, sound design, just arrangement, song form, all those kind of things. So there's a whole bunch of things that we could talk about with these tracks. It doesn't have to simply be me listening and being like, that was great or that was terrible. It could be all of us talking about the songs in general. So the first person that joined today was Anthony. I got Anthony's song right here. And before I jump into Anthony's song, everybody, are you students at 343 right now? You give me a little hand raise. So I see 3 people in here right now. Who here is a student?
I was.
Okay.
Yeah, Vinny and Maya are both previous students.
Cool.
And Vinny's done some work with us as well.
All right. So before I jump into everybody's song, I'll ask you a bunch of questions about yourself, but let's just get started with Anthony right now. Anthony's got this tune over here. I'm going to share my screen just so you can see what's going on there. Thomas, is it cool if I give a screen share?
Yep, of course. And we'll just have, when we're presenting, I'm just going to ask everybody that's not talking or presenting to mute, just so we can avoid any sort of, background distractions. But otherwise, we're live on YouTube, so if you don't want to share your face on there, do what you need to do. Turn off your video, but we're good to roll.
Cool. So let me just see. I'm just going to give this a quick play. And for anybody wondering what I'm doing, I have Ableton Live open right now. And I'm going to be playing this song through SoundCloud because I don't have the file. Or I might have the file, but I don't at the moment. So if I play this... Okay, so were you all able to hear that? Yeah?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Cool. So what I'm doing right now, just before I even play the songs, I'll just explain what I'm doing. I'm playing the songs right now through SoundCloud. So they're going from the internet. And I'm sending it into Ableton Live. And we could visualize the spectrum. So we could see all the frequencies that are going on in the song. And I also have this ozone imager as well, so we could see the stereo image of the song. And simply a nice thing to see. You could see how everybody's song looks and sounds, and we could talk about that as well. If you don't want to talk about that with your song, we don't have to, but if you want to, I think it could be helpful for everybody just to see. And if you're wondering how I'm actually doing that, I'll explain afterwards. For now, let's simply jump in, listen to the music, and we'll go from there. So the first one from here is Anthony with I Will Never Stay.
the system for creative people is broke.
All right. Nice work, Anthony. I like that.
Thank you.
So before I even jump into it, I want to hear a little bit about yourself. I want to know why you created this in general. You said that you are a producer. You're not DJing at the moment. I could see you got this image over here. So it looks like this thing is made.
No, it's my first second album. It's not.
Okay. So this is from your album, this song.
Yes. I want to ask you. You like the mixing and mastering?
Yeah, I was going to talk about that as well. I was going to say, just from, well, before I even answer that, I'll first ask you what it's really for. If I know, like, where you're looking to, like, if you're going to, like, play this in a club, if you're looking to, I first want to just know your goal for this song, and then I'll give you my answer. So what specifically did you create this for? Like, any specific reason?
Because it's I like it. It's nice. You know, the DJ maybe it's not playing this, but it's very well, yeah.
Okay, so when you made this song, you're really looking to, I guess you would like other DJs to play it maybe in a club?
Yes,
or?
it's in the pub and not in the nightclub, and deep house, because the
Yeah.
pub.
Okay, are you looking to add anything else to it, like vocals or anything like that, or this is the final version?
No, this is the final version.
Okay, well, based on that answer, I could tell you that just listening to it and listening to the mix of it and everything, you do something that I see a lot of people don't do, which is keep your low end in a really balanced place. It's not too loud, where a lot of people do that when they're creating this type of music. They want to like push the bass really hard. And I could see that you didn't really do that. And you could actually see it. I'll play it back. You might have to listen to this little ad.
If it's
quick,
algorithms over ideas, quantity over quality,
SoundCloud
what's
makes you
easy to
listen to ads.
sell over what's good, money, brands, and just about everything else, over the people who actually make things.
We got
People
about
say that's just the way it
15
is.
seconds of
We
this
say,
ad.
that. Here's a wild idea.
Really,
Let's
this
put
is the ad?
creativity over
What do we
everything.
get right now?
Visit creativityovereverything.com and see how Patreon can help you do your best creative work with the direct support of your fans.
You like my music?
Thank you,
Good?
SoundCloud. Yeah, so here, I'm just going to play this real quick. You could see the low end and the high end and the mids. There's nothing that really that's like pushing too far, which is really nice just from a visual standpoint. It's like I see a lot of people when they're creating this type of music, they'll have a kick drum and the bass, and both of those elements have a lot of low end in it. It might overpower the rest of the song, where other people just find that being too overpowering, and then they'll try to make everything else a little louder, and then it kind of like loses that balance a bit. Where I found you found a nice balance between those two. And another thing that I did like about it is that the kick drum and the bass are pounding in the center of the mix, which is really nice. So it's like I always get that punch and the push of the whole song. But the synths and all those like higher end kind of like lead sounds, like just any type of lead like synths or any percussion elements that you had in there, I noticed they weren't really rumbling the low end and they weren't really rumbling the sub, which is also a really great thing. And that was what I wanted to ask you as well. When you're mixing your song, did you take that into consideration, like cutting low end from these specific instruments and things like that?
The hi-hats is slow. It's slow. It's slow. It's slow.
Say that
The
again?
volume is slow in the hi-hats. Yes.
Wait, say that one more time.
The hi-hats. The volume is high.
Let me listen one more time.
Here, the hi-hats. You see the hi-hats is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're too loud or too soft at all. It's really, this is where like creative mixing really comes into play, and this is where understanding your reference in general really comes into play as well. Because from a listener's perspective, I'll just give you mine.
Yes.
If I was listening to this in a club or anything, if I was listening to this on the radio, my first thought wouldn't never be, in this case, like, oh, that hi-hat is too low. It's like, which is a good thing. I think it's like if you don't even notice the hi-hat is in an odd place, I feel like that's a great thing.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, there's really nothing that made me think that. You know, sometimes I listen to music and I'm like, oh, like that thing's really low in the mix or that thing's really high. And
Yes.
even some really great songs, I'll listen to some amazing songs and I'll be like, man, that clap is really low in the mix. And normally I'd be like, oh, that's something I wouldn't normally do. But they did it. And this is a really big song. This is a great song. So it's like, you know, maybe that's
you.
okay to do as well.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it really depends on the type of mix you're going for. And also letting you know that there really is no right or wrong way to mix a track in that sense. For me, it's really about balance. It's
Yes. I want to ask you
understanding-
something.
Yeah.
This tracks, can you play in radio?
Can I play what?
In radio.
What is that?
And can I set it for from radio playing or DJs?
Ah,
Or,
yeah. It's, well, you said you're in Lebanon, right?
yes.
Yeah. So like, well, Lebanon, for example, I don't really know what radio stations are like over there. So it depends on that, first of all. But yeah, I mean, today it's like anything could be played on the radio now, especially with everything being digital with the internet. It's like you could literally play anything on the radio today. So
Yes.
yeah, I mean, I could see it like that. My only thought was with it being like song form wise, it was there was a lot of repetition in it. And it was like, it kind of starts at this place and it goes here. And I saw the form of it, the arrangement kind of not really like taking off to a new place, you know?
Yes.
Where it's like goes from like point A to point B to point C, maybe back to point A again. I kind of saw it as this thing that kind of goes across it was like one simple story, I guess you would call it, where I felt like things being added on top and then being
Yes.
taken away again. I also only listened to it one time, so I'd probably have to listen again to like really expand upon this discussion as far as like song form goes. But that was one other thing that I wanted to ask you as well. What were you thinking about with the song form? Are you going for a specific thing, or are you kind of just, I want to create this thing and I'm going to go, and this is the direction I'm going? I want to know what you were thinking with that.
I do house music and techno music, so I want to learn more about this electronic music. Yani, I'm good, but I want to be more higher, yeah, more good.
Yeah. Well, as far as this goes, do you play music in like an instrument or with a group or anything like that?
No, this is my no.
Wow.
But I love this something, so
Yeah, that's really cool. A lot of people, well, I don't want to say a lot of people, but many people get into it from playing some type of instrument, and there's other people who don't at all. They just jump straight into the computer. And I think it's really cool for the people who jump straight into it, because it's like it becomes their own instrument that they get to use. So my only thought about that, I guess, I don't want to call it a piece of advice, but my only thoughts really is when you're seeing electronic music, rather than thinking about, I don't know how you think about it, so I'm just going to share my comments on it. It's, I assume everybody in this Zoom chat right now, or the Zoom group, you consider yourselves producers. And as a producer, you don't necessarily need to think of yourself as like somebody who's creating like a drum part, or somebody who's creating a bass part, somebody who's mixing a song, somebody who's mastering. It's like, you can see yourself as somebody who's simply overseeing an entire project, like this whole song that you're doing right now. And you could split it up in your brain of all these different parts being different people in a way. It's like you have the kick drum, you have the bass line, you have all these percussion parts, you have these synths, you have all these different things. And simply think, if these were all separate people and they were playing together, like what would they essentially do together to create a story in a way? You know, how would they go from point A to point B and create a full song? And as far as being an electronic music producer, that's a mindset that's really great to actually to take into consideration as well when you're doing this. So I think you took a really great path with this. I like the song. And
thank you.
if you stick around, we could jump into it even more in detail. I assume when we go through everybody else's songs as well. We might go into some like mixing topics and some sound design topics and things like that. And we'll keep this in here so we could jump back into that as well.
The first time I do mastering and mixes in my way.
Yeah. So that's my question for you too, before we jump over to somebody else. How did you go about the mixing and mastering process? Did you do this all on Ableton?
Yes.
Cool.
Everything is Ableton.
All right. Because when I play it back, I'm just going to play it one more time. My thought than that, I don't know if this is because it's coming through SoundCloud, but you could see this is peaking around -3. If this is mastered, it technically should be around this like 0 mark. I don't want to really jump into detail and tell you why exactly, but it is a dangerous thing to say, like with no explanation.
-6, -3, -0.
Yeah.
Between -6 minus.
What was that?
Between -6 and -0.
Yes. So that is before you master it. It's really great to get up to this point around the -6 mark. But after it's mastered, it's very, I want to say it's healthy to be around like -3 up to that 0 point over there.
Okay.
Where right now it looks a little too low, but that could be because it's coming through SoundCloud. I don't really know the answer for that.
Yes.
But we could listen to some other music and I'll give you a better answer on that.
Okay.
So it's a dangerous topic to jump into without finishing because I could give people some crazy thoughts. So I'll leave it off from that. I think you had a great song. And I think there's a lot of other things. I want to listen to your other music as well. I won't listen to it all
You
right
like
now.
my music, yes?
What was that?
You like the music?
I do. I like the music.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I like the sound choices as well. I think you mixed the sounds together well.
Thank you.
So good job. Stick around. And
Thank you.
when we talk about some other people's music, we'll be able to jump into yours as well again, if the topic comes up for those specific things. But before that, do you have any final questions or thoughts about it?
No, this is good.
All right. Well, thank you, Anthony. Awesome job.
You're welcome.
So next in the room, who's here? Who swung in? I can't see your names next to your images, but
We had Joseph Jimenez.
what was it, Vinny? I think Vinny, you popped in next. Vinny, you want to jump into your song?
Sure.
All right. So Vinny, you were taking classes at the school, right?
Yep.
Cool. What classes did you take?
I took a bunch, mixing, mastering with Abe, or mixing with Abe, and contemporary songwriting with Justin.
All right.
Took another one before, I forget.
Were you using Ableton Live for those classes?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And were you making music before you took the classes?
Yeah. It's probably been like 15 years now making music total. So
What were you doing?
Did it for like 5 or 6 years before I took a single class,
Yeah. Were you making music with Ableton for those 15 years or something else?
Yeah, like downloaded Free Loops for free when I was in high school, and then got Ableton shortly after that in college, and then, only used that forever. So.
All right. I see you got the Ableton sticker, so you're
Yeah. Yep.
You're really in there. So let me see. I got your song here. Rather than going through SoundCloud, I could just actually I think I already dragged your song in. Yeah. Okay. So I got your song here. So again, I'll jump into yours and Actually, it would be cool if we could see both of these things. Yeah, I'll do the same thing. I'll play your song, and then I'll let you talk about it a bit, and then I'll jump into thoughts as well. And if anybody else has thoughts, you can share those as well. It's an open conversation. So let's jump into it. Nice. We just listen right over here again. All right, Vinny. Damn, this is really cool.
Thanks.
Nice work.
Appreciate it.
You want to tell me about this? There's a lot going on, and I want to know what's going on in your head before I give my thoughts on it.
Okay.
'Cause I have a lot of thoughts.
All right. It's I don't know, just a beat I've had for like over a year now, probably, and I just want to put it out. So this is a quick mix or quick mastering on it. I don't know. I'm going for like a dark, like 1920s vibe with the samples, but other than that, it's just a beat, you know.
Okay. So when you say beat, are you looking to put anything on top of it, like vocals or anything like that?
No, I was like gonna rap on top of it, but I changed my mind. I'm just gonna probably release it like that.
All right. Is that your thing? Is that what you do?
Sometimes I try and sing and rap, but you know, other times I just put out instrumental type beats.
Cool. Any specific reason for the beats? Like looking for a specific type of person to listen to it, or a specific place where you would like them to listen to it? Anything? Do you think that far about it at all?
No, not really.
Okay. So you got a beat, you got a lot of things going on in the beat, and you have a lot of things going on that makes it really difficult to mix, essentially. And I'll explain why. But before I do that, I will say that I like the way that it's very original. There's a lot of things that I wouldn't have thought to do. It's like, for example, you have like this one part. I'll say this one thing that I liked, and I want to even ask you what you did here because it's kind of interesting. So that piano in the back, it's like playing on an arpeggio. When you did that, did you play that in live, or were you using a effect to create that, like a MIDI arpeggiator or something?
I think that's just a live arpeggiator, or it might be from a synthesizer that I resampled. It's
So
possible.
I like that it started off like it was changing, like the speed of it was changing.
Oh, so yeah, it's probably tracked.
Yeah, it was
up
like
in live. Then.
getting slower and speeding up, and I
Yeah.
like when people do those kind of things. It's like it's not so static. It's like things are moving and changing even when you're using digital instruments or just like digital effects to compose music with. I think it's really great when people do things like that. And I don't know, just a question for you was, when you did that, do you even remember what you did? Like, was it automation, or were you doing things manually by hand?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It looks like it was just a automated arpeggiator.
Cool. So it's cool that you know to do that. And so those are like, there's a lot of little things that I heard throughout the whole song that were really great like that. It was just like these like interesting things that I might not have thought of, other people might not have thought to do, but you added them in. I thought that was really great. And because of all that, it sounds like you're doing all these things that on their own are very interesting. It's like, oh, this piano thing is going to change and it's going to do this. And then like the synth is going to come in and that's also going to do this really interesting thing, you know? And then the drums are going to come in. The drums are crazy, by the way. The kick drum is like really intense, which is cool. I like it.
Good to know. I'll use it on other projects.
Big kick drum. So the good thing about that kick drum though is it wasn't really clashing with the other instruments because they were like more in the high range. So that was cool. But the thing with this now is like you have a lot of instruments. I'm going to try to like freeze something as an example. Like that synth, for example. That synth is taking up like this huge frequency range, right? Where you start like adding that thing in, like the piano, or even just that chord. Like that chord in the piano is pretty much like the whole frequency range. It's like everything, which means it's huge, which could be really good. But then when you start adding that with other things, it kind of as far as a listener goes, it could confuse them of like what to listen to essentially.
Gotcha.
It's like as a music creator, I do this all the time. I know many people who do this. They know what they want to create. So they'll be like, I'm going to create this piano part. I'm going to add this synth on it. I'm going to add this kick drum. I'm going to add this other thing. And in your mind, it all makes sense. But for somebody who doesn't know what you're thinking, or like in your mind, you might be like, I made this piano part and I changed this arpeggiator and I know exactly how it's going to sound. And somebody listening to it is also going to hear that. But the person listening to it might just hear all these different frequencies and the sounds come in where they might be confused of really what to focus on, you know? They might just hear the synth come in. They'll be like, man, that synth was crazy. But they might have missed that piano part that came in.
Right.
Or maybe like the drum is so intense that they just focus on that drum that they might have missed something else that come in was like moving around. So that's really my only piece of, I don't want to call it advice because I don't want to tell you like what to change in your music, but it's one thing that I perceived as a listener was that there was a lot of different things going on. There was a lot of things changing. And because it wasn't like a standard song form where I could anticipate what's going to happen, things were catching me by surprise to the point where I didn't really know what to listen to. So if you enjoy that, like if you want me as a listener to just be surprised and like enjoy this cool thing that you made, like, yeah, you totally did that. But if you want to create something that like you want me to focus on a specific element, you're like, oh, I really want you to focus on this piano, or I really want you to focus on like this crazy synth. There are ways for you to kind of balance those out, either in the composition or in the mix down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, maybe I could just drop a little piece of something else that's clashing in those parts, because I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah, because you said you took the mixing and mastering class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of ideas from that class that you could actually use. It's like if you learned about, actually, before I even go into details of it, going back to what I said to Anthony, it's like when you're creating music, electronic music, it's really great to think of each track as like a different person, for example. Where if you're listening to this song, you know, you have drums, you have piano, you have synths, you have, I don't even know what else you had. You had a bunch of stuff in there. It's really great to think of these as different people. And if you think like, do you ever listen to jazz, for example? You've ever seen like a live jazz band?
Yeah, definitely.
So the thing with jazz is most typically, let's just say you have a jazz band with like a drummer, a piano player, or just say like a drummer, a bassist, and like a trumpet player. Like the drums are a really loud instrument. So the drums might like tone things down a bit. Well, let's just say before I even go into this example, I think everybody listening right now, this could be a really helpful thing to hear. It's like you might have just these three people come in and there's only three instruments. It's not that many things going on. And they all may just know how to play with each other to make it sound good before they even know like what they're going to be playing. They'll know like I have a drummer, a bassist, maybe a piano and a trumpet player. It's like, because I'm with these four people, I kind of know how to treat my instrument to make it work with these people that are going to be playing. And for example, maybe in the song, like everybody's playing at the same time, but then the trumpet player wants to go and take a solo. The whole band will know, like, you know what, I'm going to tone things down a bit. Maybe the trumpet player's like, you know, there's three people playing. I'm just a trumpet. I got to like make this thing louder. Maybe he's going to walk to like the front of the stage and everybody can hear him more and everybody knows to focus on this dude playing the trumpet. And if you think of it like at that very simple, basic idea of that's how music is perceived from a listening standpoint, you could take that into the like the mind of an electronic mixdown. Essentially, it's like you could think of all these different pieces in your mixdown as just like a different person in a band. And if you want to hear a very specific thing, think you could get really creative with how you want to move those things to the front. You know, maybe that like big synth was really crazy, but maybe that wasn't the thing you wanted to be in the very front. So maybe you could use some reverb tricks. You could use some like stereo imaging tricks to like push it to the back, but also like spread it out. You could use some EQing tricks to like maybe remove some EQ from that track and not the other, so that one sticks through. Or maybe you want to do the opposite. Maybe you want that synth to be right in the front and the piano like goes to the back. Then you do the opposite. And using your knowledge from your mixing and mastering class, or even just the mixing class or any sound design classes, will give you really the creative tools that you need to make these decisions. So as far as listening to your song, I thought the ideas were really great. I thought the composition was really cool. The way you went through the arrangement was really nice as well. My only thing was I didn't really know what to focus on. And I think with the things that you know how to do from what you learned in class, I think you could take those ideas to move the instruments around in a different way. And yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a really good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think, yeah, for everybody listening too, it's like you could, I haven't even listened to everybody's music, but I'm sure you could apply those ideas to everything you're doing. Cause yeah, I still apply those ideas to everything I'm doing. So as far as that song goes, good job.
Thanks.
Those are my initial thoughts on it. Any questions you have about it?
I'm using loudness penalty to check like the levels for release. Did you see that the level was okay? Because I'm always like stuck in this gray area is, you know, if it's good or not.
Yeah, let me check it one more time. I mean, it's going up to that 0 point. And I mean, it's between the 6 and the 0. There's a lot of dynamic range, which is nice. It's like you have some instruments, when the instruments are like playing all at the same time, or playing, a bunch of them are playing together, I could see it jumping up to that 0 mark. But then when you have some specific instruments soloed or other things drop out, I could see it jumping down to about like the -6 range. I'm all about dynamics. I think dynamics are great. And I think the loudness is fine. Something to note though, if depending on where you're going to be releasing it, like, I don't know if this statement is true though. So I'd advise you to research this. If you're going to release music on like Spotify, for example, I'm not sure if maybe Thomas, maybe you know, if they normalize the music, meaning they basically make it louder. So they make like all the music that's going to be released on like their platform, it's about the same volume as everything else. So my only thought is like, if it's too low, you might run into issues of people normalizing it, which like makes it louder. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if they actually do that, but if they do, then that's one thing that could be scary. But yeah, I don't really see any issues with what's going on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you suggest like the parts that go down, like I should increase a little bit or like automate it that way, or that's not really an issue?
It depends. So, I mean, this is a whole topic I could really get into, of like just understanding. I'll just give you this like quick example. This is good for everybody too. Like, just to hear this, as far as mixing goes. Say you have like the reason I don't want to tell you to like bring something up and down is because I don't really know exactly like what frequencies are going on in your tracks right now. Like sometimes you would say, like for example, if you have a bass and like a guitar and the guitar is too low, it's like maybe when they're playing at the same time, it's a good level. But when it's only the guitar, it's too low. So should you make that guitar louder? It's like, in simple thought, yeah, maybe that could be the right way to go. But the other side is like, say you have a bass and a guitar. Maybe that guitar has like has enough bass in it where they're both playing at the same time, they kind of reach a nice level. But when that bass is out, maybe that guitar still has some bass in it. So like if you're raising that, you're going to be raising some bass as well, maybe, depending on what's in that track, and that might clash with some other instruments. So that's why I don't want to tell you just to do it, because I don't really know exactly what's going on with all your tracks. Basically, like all the frequencies in your tracks, they will add with some other type of instrument if they combine some frequencies. So I won't just tell you to like make something louder without seeing it. But in simple thought, yeah, like if your guitar is really low and when it's playing with everything, if it's loud, and when it's on its own, it's too low, then yeah, you can make it louder. And again, you could figure out how to do that without like disrupting other things as well. So yeah, I do that all the time, like with automation and stuff like that, just make things louder, or even with compression. Like if something's getting too loud at some point, you could kind of like tone it down a bit with compression to compress the dynamic range. So there's a bunch of answers to that. And my main answer is, yeah, it's okay to do that. Automate things, move it around, make things louder, make things softer. And I think that'll be a good way to go.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Cool. So, all right, we have 2 other people in the room here. I think we have 2 other people. Is that correct, Thomas?
Yes, it looks like we have Maya and Joseph. Did Joseph submit a track?
Joseph, yeah.
Okay. And you have that, Josh?
Yeah, I got Joseph's track.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, it looks like those are our 2 remaining participants.
All right. What's good, Joseph? I can't hear you right now. Oh, but before I talk to you, Vinny, nice work. Actually, before I even jump into somebody else's, what do you guys think of whoever heard Thomas's track as well? I mean, not Thomas. Whoever heard Anthony's track? Maybe we'll do that after. We'll listen to a bunch of things right now if people have some additional thoughts. We'll let everybody chat as well after. But for now, Joseph, can you hear me? Can you see me? I can't hear you. Maybe I need to unmute you. Oh, I can't unmute anybody.
It looks like he's unmuted, but maybe the audio is not set up. Feel free to hop in the written chat if necessary, Joseph. Or maybe you need to come out and come back in quick, but looks like the audio isn't coming through on his end. Still nothing.
Proverb. Oh, Joseph, I got your project as well. Let me see. You know, first I'll listen to it the way it is now, and then afterwards, I could open up the project if we have time to do that. Yeah, what do you guys think of Vinny's project? That was
I
cool.
thought
I loved it.
Yeah,
I
it was
loved it.
really cool.
Thomas, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it really is kind of like a journey, and I thought that like there's a ton of interesting stuff going on, and which I really enjoyed. And like you said, the only thing I would kind of improve, if anything, would be to kind of just focus on spreading things out a little bit, just to kind of make it more of a journey that you can kind of stay in touch with. But it wasn't like crazy overwhelming or anything to listen to. It just kind of, a lot of the elements in there caught my interest. So I think if you kind of just mess with the dynamics and stuff a little bit like that, you could really have a piece that will take you on like a nice little escape.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Nice words.
I
Maya, what'd you
loved it.
think?
I loved it, and I have zero problem with all of the layers as the daughter of a conductor. I totally get it. I could always use a little more bass, but I thought it was super interesting, and I would definitely listen to it. It's something I would listen to. So thanks, Vinny.
Okay.
Nice.
Can you hear my audio now?
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
I got you.
Okay.
All right. I think, Anthony, you were going to say something.
Yes, it's the song for the movie. It's like movie for movie.
Whoa, you just got really loud, man. Wait. Try that again. Or try taking a step back. Step back from the mic a bit. All right, try that. What'd you say, Anthony?
I see the tracks we listen to of Vinny. It's like some for movie.
Got the storytelling.
Appreciate that.
Movie song.
Yeah. That's
People
cool.
always say that about my music. Like, oh, it should be in a movie. I'm like, okay, I guess that's a good thing, maybe.
Yeah, you should try some sync licensing.
Yeah.
That's it. You got the storyteller. Cool, man. Well, since we're talking about yours, what did anybody on Anthony?
Yes.
Anybody here? Thomas, you have any thoughts on Anthony's tune from before?
Yeah, I thought Anthony's been here for a couple of the last sessions, and I thought it was cool. It's kind of along the lines of what he's been bringing, and it seems like it's he's taken some feedback into consideration, which is good to see. But definitely something I can hear on the dance floor. It definitely has that vibe, and nothing was really clashing or anything standing out to me too much. Just kind of something I enjoyed, and definitely could see people kind of listening to. So,
Thank you.
no problem.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought the mixing was really good on your track. It was like super clear in my speakers. Like, I got some pretty expensive speakers, and they sounded like perfect. Like, I wouldn't even change the mixing. I liked what Josh said though, how like the bass line was like the same thing that went throughout the whole time. It would be cool if you like just did some like crazy thing with it, maybe at the end, or I don't know, just to mix it up. But it sounded awesome, I think.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was very pretty and very chill, and I would have liked, just for myself, to hear a little bit more dynamic changes. Otherwise, it was very pretty. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good thoughts all around. And Joseph, you jumped in. Joseph, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, I can hear you too.
Okay.
All right, so I got your music as well.
So you got the Ableton file also, because I sent that a little later.
Yeah, I have it. I'm gonna open that up afterwards if I have some
Okay.
time to do that. For now, I got the tune over here. Let me see this. I have the song here.
It's kind of a pre-mix and not mastered at all.
Okay,
So,
not mastered, pre-mix.
yes.
We got the song idea
Yes.
and everything else. Okay, so I'm gonna play this, and then I'll ask you some questions about it, and then we'll dive in with some thoughts again. Sound good?
Yes.
All right. All right, so we got Joseph with Proverb of Love.
Proverb.
With Proverb of Love.
If you want to say proverb, you know, this is
Proverb. I'm thinking of my Fab Filter plugins with Proverb of Love.
All right, is it recording?
I am patient, I am kind. When I am perfected, there is nothing I can't design. By me, the worlds were framed. Tell me, do you know my name? There seems to be this disconnect. They don't understand. They just don't understand. Maybe in time. If you would release me, I will give you all that your mind's eye can see. Can you imagine just who I can be? Even in sickness, I still remain true. When you embrace me, there's nothing I won't do. I was there from the beginning, and I will be there when it all ends. If you will embrace me, I will make all amends. I am stronger than darkness, purer than a dove. And in case you haven't guessed it by now, I am love. With the Creator.
Jesus. The composition of that is awesome. Nice work, Joseph.
Thank
I really
you.
like that. Oh, there's so many parts of it that I really like. This is a bass song, man. Do you play bass?
No, that's sample tank bass I use. I just did sample tank keyboard.
Ah, Oh, did you play it on the keyboard?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's a really nice bass line. I like that. I'm just playing a little bit. So you play keys.
Yes.
So you played all the keys. You played all the bass. You essentially played.
There are some loops. I got some orchestra stab loops in there. It's kind of a mixture. It's keys and a few loops.
Nice. So with this right here, so you got a mix of like sample-based music. You got a mix of you adding your own performance in there as well. Right. And I can't even tell the difference of what you created and what you used as samples. One is because I don't know you. The other one is because it meshes together really well. So I want to ask you about that before I even give thoughts on it. But my first question for you is, how long have you been doing this? What are you doing right now with all this music?
Nothing actually. I have 3 songs. I actually took a vacation because I don't do this full time. Because I was trying to get it finished, this and 2 other songs. Because these tunes I've had for almost 5 years.
Yeah.
So I've been kind of, fooling with it, and I wanted to actually finish them. And just put it out on, the streaming networks, iTunes, that kind of a thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, as far as the song goes, I think it sounds really great as far as just writing the different parts and getting the whole song form together. Do you have experience with playing music? And
yes, I actually play for my church.
Okay. That explains it all. I understand everything now. So with this music, you're creating it on your own by yourself?
Yes.
All right. So you're creating this music. You just want to put it out. Any specific type of place or person you want to listen to this music?
Not in mind, honestly. Like I said, the idea or the title of the proverb of love kind of, you can see the song describes the attributes of love.
Mm.
And on the vocal parts, I did it all. I just kind of pitched some of the higher ones. I would pitch my voice to change the sound on the vocal parts.
Cool. And that's your voice throughout the whole as well?
Yes.
Nice. All right. So you know what's going on, which is great. As far as music composition goes, you have all that down, which is really cool. So as far as this goes, so when you're playing in church, you play keys?
Yes. Keyboard, organ.
Keys, yeah. Organ, and when you're playing, there's a bassist as well, there's drums. So this is my main thing with this. There's a lot of bass. And a lot of bass can be really good. And a lot of bass can also mean that, or I don't want to say bass, there's a lot of low end. There's a lot of low end frequencies. And because there's so many low end frequencies, I'm not catching the movement of that really awesome bass line. There's a really nice bass line in there. And I notice when the drums come in, the other things come in, I kind of lose it a bit because like the drums are so powerful, And then there's like the keys fit a really large range as well. And then there's a lot of vocal chops and there's all these things coming in where the vocal chops don't really mess too much with the bass line as much, but I feel like I lose that part of the bass line, like the groove and the feel of it, which I had at the beginning of the song. And wait, let me just play it one more time.
Yeah, you probably talking about more on that second verse half.
Yeah, I think so. It's like, even here, it's like I think the kick drum especially has a really long decay. It's like a big, like boom, has a long, like low end rumble to it. And maybe when you're playing in church, this is what I always did whenever I was playing with bands or groups anywhere. I would listen to the bass line. I would listen to, because I'm a drummer, and I'd play drums, and I would play my drums with the bassist and just the rest of the band. And I would change the sound of my kick drum, like the way it's tuned sometimes. Like sometimes I would pitch it up, sometimes I'd pitch it down. Sometimes I'd like put pillows in the bass drum. Sometimes I'd just do all these things to muffle it. I think because you're playing in church, it's really great to just see what the drummer's doing with their kick drum and just be like, why does it sound so good when this drummer plays with this bassist? Like, why does it work? And you could see like, oh, maybe because the drum has a really short decay to it. Maybe it's not too boomy, or maybe it is really boomy, because I don't know exactly what that kick drum sounds like. But if you hear a specific place where like you're listening to music, that's what I was talking about with everybody. I keep talking about the same things of like when you're creating electronic music or just music in your computer, if you really imagine it as real people playing, you can really figure out how to make things mesh together really well. And there's a reason why really great drummers mesh well with a really great bassist. And it's not only what they're playing, but it's like how they're playing it. It's like how hard are they kicking the kick drum? How long is that kick drum decaying? Is it allowing the bass to like really play its rhythm? Is it allowing other instruments to really be heard? I feel like that's like the only thing that I'm hearing in this whole song that I thought, that was like one of my first thoughts that came into mind. It's like, oh, I really like this bass line. And then the drums came in. I'm like, that drum line, the drum part really works with that as well. But but the kick is so big and enormous that it's kind of drowning out that bass line. So I don't feel that rhythm anymore. Where it was kind of, that idea was kind of going throughout the song.
There seems to be. Embrace me. There's nothing I won't do.
Yeah, because when you're listening right now, do you have a sub or anything to hear like really low frequencies?
Yeah, I don't use it. What the thing is, like when I was telling you, it's kind of a pre-mix. Like,
yeah,
I had plugins on there, and I really, because when I was listening to it in my car, because I haven't had a chance to fix it, I do notice that. Again, like I said, I haven't had a chance to fix it, so I sent it to you.
Right.
I know it is a problem, especially.
Right. Well, I'm excited to hear the next version of it. But that was really the only thing. It was like, I don't know if you know this or not, but for anybody who doesn't know it, it's like a kick drum. If you shorten the decay of a kick drum, it like sometimes that can make all the difference of making like the bass line just like move and pump throughout the whole rest of the song. And I can notice it in this spot too. It's like everything you have here sounds awesome. You have like the vocal chops, you have the synths, you have the bass line, you have the chords, you have your voice like speaking through it. It all sounds really good. It sounds great. And then when they're all playing together, there's just some things that are like dragging over a little longer than they might have planned to be dragged over. Because once again, if these are real people, like you might have somebody play a bass, they'll hit a note, but like they could stop the note whenever they want. You know, they'll play and they'll stop it. And then like anybody playing an instrument, when you're playing keys, you might play and you hear somebody else do something, you could like stop playing, you know? But there's something about making it in your computer where sometimes like these layers and layers of the music keep adding, and it doesn't come as natural to like stop specific things or make things shorter. So I'm not saying you have to like change that with yours, but I think it's overall for everybody in the room right now, it's really great to simply understand that. It's like simply making something shorter so it doesn't like bleed into the other sounds could be something that makes your whole, not even the mix, but like the rhythm of the music sound even stronger, essentially. So Joseph, with this song, I think you have all the elements. It's really just going back to, I mean, it's really going to like the mix and just like the length, like the tone. I mean, the tone of everything sounds really great as well. It's like just some like bleeding of different instruments, things like crossing over others, like people playing on top of each other that don't need to be playing on top of each other sometimes. And that's really like my only thought that I could think of to make this thing like work a little more. But besides that, I think you're really talented. You have a great ear for composition. You're playing in church, which is really great. You have a really great voice. I like your speaking voice. I like it when it's going through the whole thing. And I like the vocal chops you did as well. I like all that stuff. So good job with all of that. Do you have any specific questions or thoughts about this?
No, I like the critique that you gave. So,
all right. Well, anybody else have thoughts about it? Thomas, I'll let you go. What are you thinking about this one?
I am a very big fan of this track. Definitely something I could see myself listening to. The main thing that kind of caught my attention with it is just like the vibe, just melodically how everything's very chill and the bass line's really nice, like Josh was saying. But overall, like I agree with a lot of Josh's feedback, but the structure is there, you know, everything is kind of just, I think, on point, you know, it's got a very cool vibe to the track. So I enjoyed it a lot.
Nice.
Oh, I think it
Anybody
was
else?
really, really, really pretty. I don't know if it was my computer or the track. The first time we played it, the vocal part was just going in and out. But when you played it after that, it sounded better. So I don't know if that's a computer thing. It was very, very pretty. Again, I love the bass and the keys. And it's just a gorgeous groove. Thanks for doing it.
Great job.
Thank you.
I like it a lot too. I think like I liked how your voice was different throughout it. When you came in with like some at the end, you had like a nice long I don't know if that's a verse or whatever that breakdown is. Like your voice sounded really good right there. And then throughout the song, there were some times where I guess you had different effects on it, but that was my favorite when you made your voice sound more like filtered and like a sample rather than just like straight talking, because then it made it more like more interesting, just more like all over the place, like where is this coming from? So I kind of like the randomness. It had more like a hip hop type feel, you know, so I kind of like that. Awesome song.
Nice. Nice work, Joseph. Keep doing music. I like it. So everybody, good thoughts with all that as well. Maya, you are up.
Okay, and you have the music?
I do. I have your link.
Yeah, I'd like to qualify before before we hear it, if I may.
That's you.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. So nice to be here. I got so much out of the last 2 feedback sessions that I attended that I decided I might gain something from participating in this. This is quite rough. The arrangement is set, except for at the very end, you will see how I need to flip something. Something's in the wrong place. But so I have a lot of changes. As I said, this is rough. I'm not sure I think I'm not going to say what the changes are going to be that I'm thinking about, because I'd really like to hear about things that are jumping out for other people. But it's also just a rough mix. I threw this into Ozone sort of at the last minute, just so could be listenable. And I apologize if anyone is offended by the amount of stuff that's going on. Thank you.
Never apologize for your music. So here we go.
Yeah.
So you said your parents are composers.
My dad's a composer and a conductor, and I studied music when I was a little kid, but then not after that. And then I was writing a bunch of songs about 20 years ago, but I never knew how to do the music by myself. I do play djembe, but and I didn't know how to use a computer or anything. So actually, I started writing songs on my phone about 18 months ago, because I just started writing. Yeah, on GarageBand. I just was too intimidated by the or overwhelmed by the computer, and I didn't really even know about it. So I took a class in GarageBand for 4 weeks at Henry Street Settlement, and that was helpful. Got a mini introduction into Ableton, way overwhelming. Went back to the phone until I decided to take a class at 343 Labs, which I love, and in songwriting, and decided I would just sort of learn Ableton while I was doing that. And then I took a class in synthesis with John and Selway. And I took 2 other classes elsewhere. And so I feel like, I'm still learning. So it takes me a long time to put a song together, but I think it's getting better and better. And I just love to do it. So there you have it.
That's it. My only question for you, what classes did you take at 343 besides the sound design?
Songwriting and synthesis.
All right. Do you do the Ableton Live class?
No, I just learned it
Okay.
sort of while I was going along.
Cool. So this one, before I play it, you said you made it on your phone. I love that you make music on your phone.
No, not this one. Not this one.
Not this one, though. Okay.
No, this one I made this in Ableton, but it was a combination of Logic and it's all in Ableton now. You know, I just made some stems and chopped up some samples and things in Logic, but I like Ableton a lot. So.
All right. Well, I'll play this. I'll let us see everything that's going on in it as well, and then we'll talk about it some more.
Okay, thanks.
Everybody's in it for the money. I wanted you to know, 'cause you're my people, one and only. Some people think that's kind of funny, but I know everybody's in it for the money. Sometimes I wonder, is this hell or is it heaven? Will we be doomed or will we be forgiven? Everybody's looking for something like the spirit. You gotta listen if you're gonna hear it. How you gonna pay? You're on your way. No one's a loser, no one's a winner. Some of us are saints, but most of us are sinners. Everybody's in it for the money. I thought you should know, 'cause I really do feel sunny. Most people think it's kind of funny, but I know everybody's in it for the money. Maybe you think that you're the golden child. Maybe you think you're natural and you're wild. The value of the note lies in its poetry. The ones who think it's funny are in it for the money. How you gonna pay? You're on your way. No one's a loser, no one's a winner. Some of us are saints, but most of us are sinners. Do 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 do. Take me to the ledge, take me to the light, take me on a steed, I'm ruined from the fight. Take me to the ledge, take me to the light, take me to the fight, got me feeling alright. Everybody's in it for the money, the ones who think it's funny are in it for the money. I'm always looking for something like the spirit. I gotta listen when I wanna hear it. And I know most of us are in it for the money. How you gonna pay? You're on your way. Some of us are saints, but most of us are sinners.
Whoa. Wow, all of that caught me off guard in a really good way.
It sounded very choppy. It didn't sounded totally different through the computer today than it did on my monitors. It sounded super choppy. I don't know what it was for everybody else.
It might be because it's going through Zoom. It sounded fine.
Maybe.
I mean, it sounded the same for me, listening just straight through SoundCloud. But I want to know more about this from your end before I give my thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of
Well, it's a
happy
COVID
thoughts.
song. You know, I'm not political at all, but really, I have opinions, but you know, I'm not one of these people who gets outraged or, you know, I can't live in that kind of stuff. But I will say that this is definitely a response to what little news that I do read and or watch sometimes at the beginning of the COVID pandemic. So this is the second of the COVID songs that's on its way. Well, I finished one a couple weeks ago, and this is the second one that's could well be finished soon. And so the other one was about isolation. This is about corruption, basically, and ego and so forth. And I don't know, what else do you want to know? I don't know what to say.
Yeah. All right. Let me listen to one thing before I share thoughts.
It's in it for the money. Sometimes I wonder, is this hell or is it heaven? You're on your way. No one's a loser, no one's a winner. Some of us are saints, most of us are sinners. Everybody's in it for the money. I thought you should know, 'cause I really do feel sunny. Everybody's funny.
All right, your explanation helped understand all of this a lot more, because
okay.
I will assume that this is a lyric focused song. Like
Absolutely, but
that you want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. I still need to, I haven't picked apart my drums yet. I made them, but I haven't like done fine tuning or anything like that. I try to focus on the arrangement, because that's the hardest, the lyrics arrangement, and because that's the hardest thing for me. And that's the thing that I feel once I have that in place, then I can do other stuff. So that's why I don't tune it. I learned the hard way. I never tune it before the arrangement is done, because in Ableton it doesn't have ARA apparently, and you can't move stuff around. So so it's not bad. I mean, just several semitones in a different direction that they call 100% tune, but it doesn't matter.
Those things can be fixed, and they may not be bad in that sense as well. But my main thing is, I mean, as far as a song goes like this, a really great reason for having a song like this with a message that's spoken, or like you have a verbal message, is that you can really focus on the lyrics. And like, if the lyrics are the main focus and the lyrics are heard, then everything else could essentially be background to that in a way. Because like,
so what are you saying, that it's not loud enough, or?
No, but sometimes I lost it a bit, because like there was a lot of harmonies, and like there was a drum loop that came in that was loud.
I see.
My point here saying is you don't have to think too much about like everything. I don't want to say like the other stuff isn't important, but what I will say is this is for everybody. It's like, if I'm going to say Maya has a really great point with her music, and the fact that she knows what she wants to do with it before she even creates it is really great. Like, before she creates a drum part, before she creates like pianos or keys or that really crazy bass. That was a really cool bass, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Before she does any of that, she's like, I have a message that I want to share with people. And that's the main thing. If that message gets across, then this song is a success in a way. Is that true? As far as like some kind of extent, if you're able to get your message across, that song.
Oh, well, I think it's an interesting point, I think, because rarely when I come to the feedback sessions, which I've really benefited from, and I now, of course, really love the people, is everybody's so different. And so there really have not been people too much with songs, with lyrics.
Yeah.
So I still feel like I get a lot out of it, though. And I think it's helped me to learn about myself and what I need, as different from maybe you, for example, or anyone else here, for example. And that it's really become clear that I need to be focusing on the lyrics and the arrangement, the vocals. And so, I forgot to mention, I made a major mistake when I recorded the lead vocal. I recorded it 512 instead of 128. And so bits per second. So 128 picks up a lot more detail, and I have a great mic. So I may actually redo that.
I mean,
but I'm just saying,
I didn't notice the difference. That was recorded at 512. But I will say, it is your voice, your singing voice sounds exactly like your speaking voice, which is funny, because I'm listening to you speaking and then I'm listening to your voice here. It sounds very similar, which
interesting.
Very interesting. It's a good thing. So with this song right here, I think you did a great job with sharing a message.
Okay.
And I want to listen again just to get all the lyrics. I didn't get to like get through all of them. I just heard something with making money. I assume that's one end that wants to make a lot of money, and they're doing all
No,
this
no.
because of that.
Everybody's in it for the money.
Everybody's in it for the money.
Commentary. Yeah.
So that right there, I mean, just with the lyrics alone, you have a story that you want to tell. And I have to listen to it again to get the full story of it, because I say that with everybody. It's like, I was saying that to Anthony as well. It's like he had a song for like a club, and he starts at one point and he gets to an end point, and it's like you tell a story through that moment. You have a verbal story, which is a lot easier, I think, for people to connect with, because people connect with vocals, they connect with lyrics. That could be a reason why pop music in general has vocals and has lyrics, because people connect with it. So that's a really great thing. And I like that you have a reason for doing this. My thought with the actual music is there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. Like there's like drum loops coming in, there's like chords coming in, there's like this bass line. And I think it's really awesome. Like it's very, I don't want to say sporadic, because that could sound like a negative thing, but there was a lot of parts where like this bass comes in out of nowhere, and then it like changes, and then there's some like random high notes, and then not random as far as notes, but random as far as I wasn't expecting to hear them. And I like that kind of stuff. I like being surprised by what's coming. And my only thought about all of this was there's some parts with like a drum loop that was coming in.
Yeah.
It sounded like, I think I have the same drum loop. I don't even know. But that drum loop was coming in, and I think it was playing at the same time as like some other drums, or maybe like there was some harmonies in there as well. And I couldn't really understand what to focus on again.
I thank you. Yeah, I actually, it became clear after I made the stem that I need to, I haven't gone over that yet. I'm not there yet. This is the place where actually I made most of those loops myself, except for one. And though the industrial sounding one, I think I didn't make that one, or maybe that's the one you're talking about. But what I will tend to do is when I make, I convert it to audio, and then I chop it up, even if I made it myself, because my tendency is to do too much, and that's clear. And okay, so I go in then and I'll remove bits and pieces and things like that to just smooth it out. So thank you for highlighting that.
Yeah, actually, I do that too. I know a lot of people that do that. It's like finalize your ideas and then just take that idea and do something with it, because then you can just keep going forever. I like that you have that mindset. That's a really great thing to have. But yeah, it was like those, out of the whole thing for me, it was if you have that message and you want people to hear it, if there's some parts that have too many things going on, it may, it's a dangerous comment for me to say. It's like, I don't want to make your song sound like just like remove things just so you could hear something else. Like if you think something sounds great by adding a bunch of things, and maybe the whole point of the song is supposed to have chaos to it in some elements, maybe that's
well, no, I am aware of a couple of areas where I need to clean it up. I'm aware of first chorus for sure, and some other places. But for me, the arrangement, except for that very end, which is obvious, the arrangement is in place. So that's
I like these little. I like that. But yeah, as far as all this goes, I like that. One question for you. Your bass sounded really cool. What was that? Was that your own synthesizer?
Oh, God. I found this bass on Logic and loops that I liked. So I brought it into Ableton. I chopped it up. I found a spot that I liked a lot. I resampled it and I put it into simpler and I played it. Yeah, I tend to do that with basses. I like to, because with those basses that they have, I like the way they process them. Like it's sort of like I don't have to do that. That's already done.
They already made it.
Not that I don't. Yeah.
I'm gonna choose the notes.
Everybody's in it. I know everybody's in it for the money.
Even those things, like those bass, that's a really cool sounding bass. So
yeah,
I like it. I like your sound choices in there. I think I guess in the end, it's basically the same thing I was telling everybody else. Just choose the things that you want the listener to really focus on, what you want them to hear.
Yeah,
and
totally.
I think you'll have a great song.
Thanks.
That's my
I
thoughts from
appreciate
it.
it. Thank
Yeah.
you for listening.
Thank
I
you for
appreciate
sharing.
your time. I really
Yeah.
do. Thank you.
Anybody else? Thomas, I'll go to you again. What are your thoughts on this one?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I
Yeah.
thought this was really, really good, Maya. I think it was one of my favorite tracks you've done, and also one of the best vocal performances I've heard you do. And I've been listening to your music, I don't know, since you've kind of been around 343, I feel like. But I thought the double track and the vocals and the harmony and stuff was going on really caught my attention, and really, I don't know, it really impressed me from what I've heard from you in the past. Not that there was anything wrong with your previous music, but it just really stood out to me as wow.
Thank
you know,
you.
a lot of improvement there has been made.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, and it seems like there's a lot of passion behind this song as well, which is really cool. And I think it comes out, you know, nicely in the track.
Well, it's just me here, so there's a lot of stuff. It's interesting being isolated in the pandemic. It's almost like fertile ground. Like I feel like I'm in a garden in a funny way. So this stuff is coming out of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So there is a lot of passion.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Thanks, Thomas.
Of course.
Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any thoughts from anybody else? What are you guys thinking about that one?
I think it was awesome. I think it had a really unique sound, or maybe not unique, but just like I really enjoyed it. The bass could hit even harder. I don't know. I think like the bass was amazing, but you should definitely make it bigger.
Bigger.
Really?
Make that bass bigger.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, I
make it like the focus of the track. I think because that was like everything.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
your vocals are cool. I think some vocal parts weren't perfectly on time, maybe.
Yeah.
Beyond that, what else? That was it. I mean, I kind of had like a Marilyn Manson type vibe, which I totally dig. Don't be offended by that. Hopefully you're not. But because you have these highs and these lows, and it's all over the place. But I loved it. Very good.
Yeah, I don't know that Marilyn Manson's work. I mean, I certainly heard of Marilyn Manson. I don't listen to that kind of music. But for me, it's sort of really theatrical, like cabaret or theatrical, That's how I would describe it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I find it inspiring to know that you could do things like this. I like how every single person here had something completely different. Everybody. So that was really cool.
Quite.
With anything else?
Sorry, I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
You have Instagram or something? I want to be update with you and everything I do.
Yes.
If you want.
Was that to me or was that to everybody?
No, it's for you. It's with you. It's with you.
Oh yeah. I will leave it in the chat.
Okay.
Right now it is at Music Production Method.
Okay.
With little underscores between each word.
Okay.
Right in the chat.
Okay. Leave in, please. Thank you.
But with everybody else, Joseph, you have any thoughts on that one?
I guess I listen to some EDM, electronic music. The bass for me, I guess I'm looking at it from more of a live bass now. To me, it was a little confusing to me, the bass line, because I was trying to figure out was she actually playing key bass, but as she stated, I think she used bass loops.
Yeah, samples and resampling.
Yeah.
Well, I resampled a bass that I liked, and then I put it into a through a different synthesizer, and then I played it in simpler.
And
if that makes any sense.
I know that electronic music makers generally don't use live bass, and I guess from a lot of this stuff that I do, like the other tunes I actually have a live bass player.
I could hear that with yours. You had I liked your bass.
Oh,
I like
that's
Joseph's
cool.
bass.
Yeah.
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 I thought it was. I thought you did have a live bass player on your
Not
song.
on this one. This one
Yeah.
was me.
Yeah.
My son, my oldest son, actually is a bass player too, but I couldn't get him to do the work for me. I was trying to get him to at least play the second half that was played a little different. But so so I was trying to figure, because it sounded like you actually was kind of trying to key bass and was kind of unsure where you were going with some of the bass lines. That was my take on it.
Okay, no, that's a very interesting comment. I'll take a look at that. Thank you.
That's what I was hearing. So I was like,
cool. Yeah.
It sounded like you were trying to play the bass, on keys and really wasn't 100% sure where you wanted to go all the time. So I don't.
Well, I think maybe if you knew my work, you know that I can get kind of abstract, and that for me is part of what I do. So I can understand how it might be disorienting perhaps, but I actually will also take another look at that. So I appreciate the comment.
Yeah, these are all good comments all around. And I like it. Every single person here is coming from a completely different end, essentially, of just listening to your music. They're all very different from each other. But it seems like everybody's in a very similar place of being music composers, being sound designers, being mixing engineers, and being producers in general. And because everybody here is doing it all on their own, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're kind of wearing the hats for everything going on in these songs. And I think that's really cool, just to simply understand that everybody's doing some completely different stuff right now, but everybody has a very similar role, which is overseeing an entire production in their computer. So good job, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, it was really nice to listen to all your music.
What about
Give your
Thomas?
thoughts.
Does Thomas have something?
Yeah, Thomas.
Not this time.
No?
No, maybe next session. I do want to say thank you to Josh though, and you had a very cool way of going about it. I think when we do these with all the different instructors, they each kind of bring something different to the table. And what stood out to me about how you conducted it was that you kind of dug into the background of the artist or producer who's bringing the track and really gave that context. And then when you listen to the track afterwards, or regardless if you kind of dove into it before or after, it really, you listen to the track in a different way when you kind of hear what they've been working on or what their kind of background is. And I think that's something I definitely want to carry into the next sessions going forward. So thank you for that.
Nice. Thank you for having me. This is really fun.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back eventually for another one when you're ready.
All right.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. And for anybody else,
very much.
Anybody taking classes at the school coming up?
Josh has a Ableton Intermediate course for anybody who's interested coming up. Scheduled to start on June 8th. So if you're interested in learning with Josh,
that was the intermediate. Yeah, the intermediate Ableton Live production course. So.
Yep, and then we have a bunch of other courses starting around that same date. So as always, find that info on the website, 343labs.com, or you could always email me, Thomas@343labs. We're all, pretty close here for the most part. So feel free to reach out about anything about the school. But thanks again for everybody joining. Josh doing an awesome job hosting, and we hope to see you back. Oh, one more last thing before I forget. We're starting our big new streaming series tomorrow at 1 p.m. called 343 TV. So we're going to have a couple instructors streaming every day, 1 p.m. To all different topics, Ableton, Bitwig, techno, house, different genres. So definitely try to tune in and catch some of the streams if you get the chance.
Thank you.
All right.
Yep. Thanks again, guys.
The email, please. Your email.
Oh, mine?
No, the Joseph email.
Oh, Josh's email. You want to put it in the chat?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And of course, if you guys ever have questions, just
thank you, Thomas.
Yes, find me at Thomas@343labs or hello@343labs is the general email for the company. So thanks again, guys, and everybody have a good evening and rest of the week.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Thanks, guys.